Hi, you guys. We're starting part 7 of gas exchange. We're getting there. I think there's 8 parts to this one. Now we're going to cover how CO2 is transported. We've talked about how oxygen is transported. Now we want to think of the same thing, but how does carbon dioxide do it? Before we even start that, I have to talk to you about the bicarbonate ion. So I'm going to show you this formula and show you that this is a buffer that is transported in your blood. So if you were to take carbon dioxide, which is something readily available in the body, and combine it to something else that is readily available in the body, which is water, you can make a very important molecule, and that's called carbonic acid. And that is H2CO3 by combining these two molecules. So carbonic acid then has the ability to release one of these hydrogens here, a hydrogen ion, and the leftover would be the hydrogen ion and HCO3 ion, which is bicarbonate. So this is considered a buffer system because it is able to regulate the number of hydrogen ions that are in solution. If you recall from chemistry, hydrogen ions are determining the pH of the solution. Many hydrogen ions are going to make this a very acidic solution. So you want to be able to regulate that and actually put them into solution if there's too few, or remove them and put them back in here if there's too many. So this entire buffer system is an important one, but I really want you to notice that it has these two molecules that are crucial. You need to know this formula. It has bicarbonate ion, and that is what is going to be able to associate onto that hydrogen and form carbonic acid and keep those hydrogen ions out of trouble. Or use some of those hydrogen ions for the regular pH of that solution and transport CO2 in the form of bicarbonate. So know this, understand this well, and we're going to come back to this bicarbonate in a minute. What are the 3 ways in which we can transport carbon dioxide? First, 7% of that carbon dioxide circulating in your blood is going to be directly dissolved in the plasma. So all carbon dioxide, I'm saying, starts out dissolved in fluid, and the plasma CO2 is going to be limited by solubility, right? We talked about solubility of CO2. It's higher than that of oxygen, but it's still limited. So we can only fit, 7% of that transported is going to be dissolved in that plasma, and that's way above what it was for oxygen, which is only 2. Okay, so 7% we can dissolve, and then beyond that, it won't dissolve anymore. So then what are we going to do? 23% is going to combine with hemoglobin, with blood proteins, but it's not the heme portion of the hemoglobin like it was for oxygen, but the globin portion of the hemoglobin. And we're going to call it carbaminohemoglobin. With oxygen, it was oxyhemoglobin. Here it's carbaminohemoglobin. Okay, so a different site. That's very important, that they don't compete for the same seat, correct? You want them both to be transported and in different seats. So 23%, and that makes 30 altogether. If we add dissolved and on the globin, where does the last 70%, where does it go? Is it not soluble in the plasma? This is already full, the hemoglobin, where do we put it? Well, 70% is going to be converted to that bicarbonate ion from that formula that I showed you. And here it is again. If I had CO2 in the body accumulating, I combine it to water, I make carbonic acid. And then I can break it down and transport it in the form of this bicarbonate ion. It's sort of like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It's both a buffer system for hydrogen ions and also a transport mechanism for CO2. Okay, and that makes up the 100%, the 3 ways in which carbon dioxide is carried in the blood. In diagrams, let's see what that looks like. You would have cells of the body here in purple, And they're undergoing cellular respiration. They're making CO2 as they make glucose, right? They're letting go of their extra CO2. And where's that going to go? Well, in diagrams that it's showing you, it's going to dissolve it. 7% is going to be dissolved. The rest is coming into the cell. All 93%. But once it's inside the cell, what's going to happen is only a portion of that is going to combine to hemoglobin. And that portion that combines to hemoglobin is carbaminohemoglobin. And it's about 23% of it. So there's hemoglobin, HB, and CO2. Good. But the rest is within the cell still. But look what happens. With the use of this enzyme, carbonic anhydrase, this carbonic acid is going to break down. It's going to break down into the hydrogen ion and the bicarbonate that we already saw in the formula. This bicarbonate then is going to, through an antiport here, is going to escape the cell and be transported in solution, but not in the form of CO2, instead in the form of bicarbonate ion. Good? Now, this leftover hydrogen ion, we don't want it to be trouble, because hydrogen ions can be trouble because of the pH. It's going to combine to hemoglobin, and combining it to hemoglobin keeps it out of any kind of trouble once it's attached onto another molecule. Okay, so backtracking, partially dissolved. The rest will come into the cell. Some of it will attach onto hemoglobin, but only 23%. The rest will dissociate into bicarbonate ion and hydrogen. Bicarbonate will exit the cell and travel within the plasma, and that left behind hydrogen ion will combine to hemoglobin. Good, so we've got it from the cell to transport. The next step would be from transport to the lung, because we've got to exhale it. We want to get rid of this CO2. We can transport it for a bit, but we need to exhale it out. We need to get rid of it. So this is the next step. We're going from the capillary to the alveoli. So now that dissolved, that 7% that's dissolved, can cross this membrane over into the alveolus, and you exhale it out. Out goes the CO2. That leaves more space to dissolve more of that CO2. So that associated to hemoglobin may be released and become dissolved. Also, we bring more of this bicarbonate back in to the cell, make carbonic acid again, remove the water, make CO2, and dissolve it again. So these are like reservoirs that will keep feeding out into this 7% that's dissolved, and that 7% is what will be eliminated out, exhaled out in the alveolus. In words here, I gave it to you, dissolved CO2 diffuses into the alveolus. This plasma CO2 drops. So this plasma CO2 drops. Bicarbonate, carbonic acid, is converted back to CO2. It follows this diffusion gradient, and then that will now move into the lumen. This is just enlarged for you to see it better. Hemoglobin, I'm telling you, acts as a pH buffer because those hydrogen ions that remained in the cell will bind to the hemoglobin. I'm going to put these together like this right there and stay within the red blood cell. And as I told you before, they won't cause any problem. The bicarbonate diffuses into the plasma. There'll be fewer free hydrogen ions in the plasma. We don't want those because they'll bring the pH down. And it's written out for you. It prevents the increase in acidity. So it's both a buffer and also a transporter system. Okay, that's the end of that section. And next we'll move on to the last part, which is part 8 of gas exchange. Thanks for listening.